Have you ever looked back at a mistake you made and quietly decided that it defines who you are? Have you ever replayed your failures so many times that they began to sound like facts instead of memories? What if the harsh voice in your mind has been lying to you all along? And what if the person you keep calling not good enough is actually someone who has simply been hurt, tired, and misunderstood rather than broken or bad? Tonight, we are going to uncover a truth that may completely change the way you see yourself, and by the end of this video, you may finally realize that you are not as bad as you think. The first principle: your mind magnifies your flaws. The first thing you need to understand is that the human mind has a strange habit of zooming in on flaws while ignoring strengths. Imagine looking into a mirror that only reflects the scratches and never the whole picture. That is exactly what your mind often does after failure, rejection, or embarrassment. If you make one mistake in a conversation, your brain may replay only that awkward moment and ignore everything else that went well. Psychologically, this is linked to something called negativity bias, where the brain naturally gives more attention to negative experiences than positive ones. This bias once helped humans survive danger, but in modern life it often turns inward and attacks self-worth. You begin to think one bad moment means you are a bad person, but a moment is not an identity. A mistake is not a personality. The mind often magnifies pain until it looks bigger than reality. The second principle: you judge yourself by thoughts, not intentions. One reason people think badly of themselves is because they confuse thoughts with character. Have you ever had an angry thought, a jealous thought, or a selfish thought and then immediately judged yourself for it? The truth is that thoughts are not always reflections of who you are. They are often just passing mental events. Imagine clouds moving across the sky. You do not become the cloud just because it passes over you. In the same way, a dark thought does not define your soul or identity. Psychologically, the mind produces thousands of thoughts every day, many of them automatic and emotionally triggered. What defines you is not every thought that appears, but the choices you make afterward. A good person can still have bad thoughts. A kind person can still feel anger. Human minds are messy, and that messiness does not make you bad. The third principle: pain changes self-perception. Sometimes people see themselves negatively not because they are bad, but because they are hurting. Imagine someone who has been rejected, criticized, or emotionally neglected for a long time. Eventually, the pain starts turning inward. Instead of saying, "That experience hurt me," the mind starts saying, "There must be something wrong with me." Psychologically, emotional pain often reshapes self-image. The brain tries to create meaning from suffering, and sometimes it creates the false belief that you are the problem. This is why people who have gone through heartbreak, family criticism, or social rejection often become much harder on themselves. They are not seeing reality. They are seeing themselves through the lens of pain. The fourth principle: comparison distorts reality. Another major reason people think badly of themselves is comparison. Imagine scrolling through social media and seeing everyone else look successful, attractive, happy, and confident. Your mind quietly begins comparing your behind-the-scenes struggles with someone else's highlight reel. Psychologically, comparison creates distorted self-evaluation. The brain assumes that what it sees externally reflects the full truth of another person's life. But you do not see their anxiety, loneliness, insecurities, or failures. You only see the polished version. This makes your own flaws feel heavier and more visible. Over time, comparison can convince you that you are falling behind in life. But often you are simply comparing reality with illusion. If you liked this video, please like and subscribe to my channel, and be sure to press the bell icon so you get a notification for every new video. If you have any questions, be sure to let me know in the comments below. The fifth principle: you remember failures more than growth. One of the most painful tricks of the mind is that it stores failure more vividly than progress. Imagine a student who failed one exam years ago but has improved constantly since then. Even after multiple achievements, the mind keeps replaying that one failure. Psychologically, emotionally intense memories stay stronger in recall. This means your brain may keep using outdated evidence to judge your present self. You may still be defining yourself by who you were years ago instead of who you are becoming today. Growth often happens quietly, while failure leaves a loud emotional mark. This imbalance makes people underestimate their progress and overestimate their flaws. 6. The sixth principle, inner criticism. Feels like truth? The voice inside your mind often sounds convincing because it uses your own language. Imagine hearing, "You always ruin things. You are not enough, or you will never change." Because this voice comes from within, it can feel like objective truth. But psychologically, inner criticism is often just learned conditioning. Sometimes it is the echo of past criticism from parents, teachers, relationships, or painful experiences. The brain repeats what it has heard enough times until it becomes internal dialogue. The danger is that repetition creates familiarity, and familiarity feels true. But something repeated is not always something real. Sometimes it is simply an old wound still speaking. The seventh principle, you are seeing yourself without compassion. The final reason you may think badly of yourself is that you judge yourself without the kindness you would offer others. Imagine your closest friend making the same mistake you made. Would you call them worthless? Would you tell them they are a failure forever? Probably not. You would likely understand their pain, their circumstances, and their humanity. Psychologically, self-compassion changes how the brain processes mistakes. Instead of turning failure into shame, it turns it into learning. The truth is that many people are not bad. They are simply judging themselves with a cruelty they would never use on someone they love. Now think about this deeply. What if the person you keep criticizing is not actually flawed beyond repair? What if you are simply exhausted, hurt, and seeing yourself through fear rather than truth? You are not every mistake you made. You are not every thought you had. You are not every failure you survived. You are a human being in progress. And sometimes the mind's harshest judgments are the least accurate reflections of reality. Maybe the real truth is that you are far kinder, stronger, and more valuable than your thoughts have allowed you to believe.